Hello everyone, my name is Michelle Aguila and this is going to be my overall understanding of this course. I really enjoyed this class and I learned a lot. So one thing I realized from this class is that communication is something we do constantly, but we really don't stop to think about how complex it really is, and it really is. So over the semester, I learned a lot about how communication shapes our relationships and how we understand other people and how we actually understand ourselves. So one of the biggest lessons that I learned about how communication actually works is early in the course we talked about the idea that communication is a process of sending and receiving messages to create a shared meaning. So what stood out to me was that communication is very transactional, which really explains that communication isn't just one person talking and then the other just listening, right? Instead, it's both people who are constantly sending and receiving said message at the same time. Like there is dialogue. That includes verbal communications like words, but it's also nonverbal, like tone of voice, our facial expressions, and our body language. So this helped me realize how easy it is for messages to be misunderstood. Even if someone says something simple, the way they say it or the situation around the conversation can completely change how it's being interpreted by the other person. The second important lesson I learned was about perception. And this was a big one because everyone experiences the world differently because our perceptions are shaped by background, culture, and personal experiences. Because of that, two people can hear the same message and just completely interpret it differently. And I think that's a really big one that I didn't piece together until this class. I'm really thankful about that. Learning about perception helped me understand why misunderstanding happens so often within relationships, including my own. And sometimes we assume we know that what someone is trying to say or what they mean, but we actually interpret their message based on our own experiences instead of their own. And so this class really emphasized the importance of being aware of our assumptions and trying to understand others' perspectives, not just our own. The third major lesson that I learned and stood out to me was about conflict within relationships, because this class I thought that, well, before this class, I thought that conflict was something that should always be avoided, but I learned that conflict actually is normal and really unavoidable in parts of relationships. It usually happens when people have, different goals, expectations, or needs, and so that was a good refresher, and also just something I really needed to hear. And what really matters is how people handle the conflict. And if people are becoming defensive or aggressive or refuse to listen, conflict does get worse. But when people communicate open, stay respectful, and focus on solving the problem together instead of at each other, then the conflict can actually strengthen the relationship instead of damaging it and straining it over time. In addition to the lessons I learned, there are two communication skills from this course that I plan to use in my future relationships and honestly for the rest of my life. The first skill is active listening. Active listening means giving someone your full attention when they are speaking and trying to truly understand what they are saying. That includes like making eye contact, asking questions, and responding thoughtfully. And I realized that many relationship problems happen simply because people feel like they were not being heard. And quite frankly, I do feel like I'm trying to check this list off, right? Of like, oh, let me show that I'm paying attention, and then completely lose focus of me actually listening. So just checking in with myself of like actively listening is going to be a big one, and hopefully can partake in that and really just hold myself accountable to it. And so the second lesson or skill that I'll be using is self-disclosure, which is really hard for me, but it means sharing personal thoughts and feelings with others. Self-disclosure helps build the trust and deeper communication and connection within a relationship, because we learn that communication is irreversible, meaning once something is said, it cannot be taken back. Because of that, it's important to communicate honestly, but also thoughtfully. Overall, the course really helped me understand that communication is almost every part of our lives, which it is, whether it's in friendships or our family, at school, at our work. We communicate, how we communicate plays a huge role in how we connect with those around us. And so this class gave me a much better understanding of how communication really works, and also gave me practical skills and that I can use in my current relationships and future relationships, and honestly for the rest of my life. And I'm really thankful for that. So that's it. Thank you.